Welcome back. Tuki's still here. Hi. Hi, Tukes. Can I help you? Apparently not. He got back from the vet yesterday. Or 2 days ago now. He is, quote, a big boy. He's about a pound more than he should be. Because he's a big cat. He is almost bigger in terms of pounds than the other two cats combined. Annie's about 7 and Archie's about 9. And Tuki is almost 15. He should be, he's large, like tight in frame wise, so he's built, he's got big bones, but he's also, there's a pound more of him than there should be. Pre-pandemic, he was floating around like 13 and a half, but post-pandemic and kitties, he's been eating more and not going on walks. And I've also been here more, so he's less active. He's rather just chill and sit with me and you. But anyway, I'm gonna keep going because I know cat stuff, fun for some people, super annoying for other people. But it's something different. So yeah, this time, personality stability. Rank order stability. And I've got illustrations on the next slide. It's this, and unfortunately, because of how I have my setup, the camera is where my notes are, so that, like, I'm looking at you, but, like, the first line of the notes is blocked by the camera, and I can't seem to get it. Oh, I can make it bigger. Nope, that doesn't help. Smaller? Kind of. So rank order consists, what I'll do is I'll make it smaller, so I can read the first line and then make it bigger. So rank order consistency is this idea that people tend to maintain the ways in which they are different from other people in the same way. I guess I really didn't need to look at that different. But from a consistency standpoint, it's my show notes to make sure that I stay on task. So you can see that can be a challenge for me. But yeah, so rank order consistency is this idea that within your rank, kind of like with similar to how percentiles work, where you are relative to other people kind of stays the same. So you may express it differently. So like kids who are neurotic or have higher levels of neuroticism cry a lot. But I mean more so than other babies. Like neurotic babies is just cry all the time. And as a fairly neurotic baby, I cried all the time. If I might splice in a fun anecdote from my mother telling you all how I cried all the time. I don't do that now, which is good, because that would, so while that behavior, maybe put me in the, like, top 10% of babies, because, like, I would cry and sleep. That's what I would do. Now, if all I did was cry and sleep, that would put me in, like, the top 1% of 1%. So, like, even though that's the exact same behavior, if all I did was cry and sleep as an assistant professor, which, sometimes is a little tempting, because it's a lot of work. I love it, but, it's a lot of work. My percentile compared to other assistant professors would put me like way in the like super high end, even though it's the exact same behavior, because as we grow older and mature and adult and all that stuff, we express that personality-ness in different ways, even if our rank order relative to other people is the same. So in general, that's the basic idea with rank order. Now, childhood personalities we talked about kind of in I illustrated last transition predicts adult behavior. So adaptable kids predict being cheerful and intellectually curious. Oh yeah, I can make my text bigger again so it's not blocked by the the tripod. Yeah, so adaptable kids make cheerful and intellectually curious adults. Impulsive kids predict talking more and louder as an adults. So like that, some of that impulsivity seems to translate into like gregariousness and extrovert, which is, they don't all map on perfectly. Some people argue that it's the little six and energy is its own / impulsivity is its own like trait, if you listen to Oliver John, and that it kind of like morphs, it gets sucked back in to a couple of the big five. Yeah, so also some other adulty stuff, inhibited personality, like from those like attachment types way a while ago, it takes them longer to find a stable romantic partner and also a first job. Doesn't mean you don't find them, it just means it takes you a little longer than the average person. Because, well, you're pickier. Alright, so that's like some of the general behaviors and even more evidence. So for those of you that enjoy the stats and math side, in terms of correlation, so over a 10-year span, your personality correlates. So like 10-year-old or you now versus you in 10 years, it's got a pretty solid correlation between 0.6 and 0.9. Now 0.9 is like, that's like great levels of even reliability. So that's like, even within like the same sitting is a great correlation. Like it indicates you definitely measuring the same thing. So to have a correlation that high across a 10-year span is really solid evidence that the trait is sticking around. It's the rank order at the very least isn't changing too much. It may be expressed differently, but the association very solid. I'm gonna make some room for Prince's Sulky Puss because he's in the corner just staring. Alright, no more cat nonsense, I swear. You two, can I come here? No? Okay. That's what we're gonna do today. Cool. So yeah, that's the basic idea with personality stability. I've got some illustrations. So to link personality change versus stability, because you can have changing averages across time versus, so like it's more change, but you can still be stable and have the averages change over time. So like people can grow less, have increase in their emotional stability over time, and yet their rank order can stay the same. But I'll just show you. So here we have stable rank in the Beatles. I had to entertain myself. Where whatever the trait is. So time 1, time 2. Sorry, it got shifted a little when I changed the theme. But higher levels in time 1 are still associated with higher levels in time 2. So George is the highest both times, even though the average is lower. So the average goes from like here, where the bulk of the data are. It's a little lower, but the rank order stays the same. Here we've got stable rank. So George, John, Ringo, Paul, same order. And their average of that trait stays the same. There's no like, you can kind of look where's the midpoint of these four, and it stays put. The median's a good way to eyeball this. 2 are above this point, 2 are below, up, 2 above, 2 below. And I know the mean and median are not the same thing, but when you're eyeballing, it's usually easier to spot the median than the mean. So yeah, boom. Next, here we've got, so the average is the same. So like this midpoint here, we got 2 above, 2 below. We go straight across, 2 above, 2 below, but the orders have changed. So Ringo has gone from like third to top. So he has changed within the rank order, and everybody else has kind of stayed the same in rank order, but their values have changed. And lastly, here's the hot mess of changing rank and average. So rank order consistency are these two guys here, no lines cross over. You can have change, but maintain your rank. You can also have no change, but change it so the average stays the same, but your rank changes. And then you can have here where the rank and average change. Boom. So, what are some causes of personality stability? There's lots of them. For those of you who have taken developmental, you may have heard of temperament, which is really just personality for babies. Which is not a universal opinion. Some people are like, oh, they're totally different. They kind of look the same to me. So temperament in young kids kind of is 3 big chunks. You got positive emotionality, which seems really similar to extroversion. It's not perfect, but a lot of extroversion is characterized by positive emotions. You got negative emotionality, which is pretty similar to neuroticism. Not perfect, but pretty close. And lastly, effortful control, which sounds a lot, you might have to believe me on this one, it sounds a lot like conscientiousness / like low levels of impulsivity. And what we do know is that like temperament's affected by genes, so like your kid personality affected by genes. Then the fact that like so we know that personality over time is relatively stable. Genes, they don't tend to change unless you're like jumping into radioactive goo and becoming a superhero. Then maybe they change. But I'm not an expert on like superhero becomingness and their relationship with genetics. That's just a hunch. So, but these 3 chunks seem to have genetic components. And there's this idea called heterotypic continuity, which is this idea that the effects of the fundamental temperamental tendencies may change with age. So like how it's expressed. So like neurotic baby me crying all the time is going to be pretty stable. Like that, the trait causing the crying, which actually turned out to be both moderate levels of neuroticism and poor vision, super poor vision. For those of you in the blended class, I think every section I've had to take off my glasses because of fogging, and y'all are fuzzy faces. All of you. Just fuzzy blurs. I might do a cool special effect on me to show you what you look like to me without glasses. But we'll see. If you don't see that here, that means I tried it and it was awful. And I decided to not subject you to it. You're welcome. If you see it, I'm sorry, it's probably still awful. But hopefully entertaining. You're welcome. Anyway, so yeah, heterotypic continuity is this idea that while the behaviors expressed by your temperament will change with age, the temperament and personality underlying those behaviors is pretty stable. And so the behaviors will change that are associated with them, like crying is baby, everybody cries. Baby, less like constant crying as adults. There's nothing wrong with crying when you're stressed or whatever. You just feel like you want it. It's cool. Don't let anybody tell you different, especially boys. It is totally healthy to cry. It's totally healthy. And girls too, but like all that gender nonsense, it's healthy. Do it if you want, but don't do it if you don't want to. You guys get what I mean. Try to be supportive without like saying thou shalt cry. Anyway, yeah, so the idea is that the temperament and personality underlying these stays the same. It's just the behaviors that we express change with time because we become taller and more adultier, at least relatively speaking, and a little more sentient. So, yeah, now you've also got now, in addition to genetic factors, there are all these other things like physical features. I'll talk a little less about these, because I kind of lump them under with a bit with genetic, but we got a whole unit on behavior genetics coming up, so stay tuned. But like physical factors like gender, height, attractiveness, these are a little bit influence personality stability, not as much. Like gender's a big effect, and the question is it like because of cult, nature, nurture. We'll cover this very soon. You've also got you've also got environmental factors, so like growing up rich versus poor, living in the city versus the country, family size. There's a very contested debate on birth order and its effect on personality. The effects are super tiny if they exist. There's definitely no effect for intelligence in birth order. Like, firstborn kid, not any smarter than secondborn kid, because of this weird statistical thing that I'm going to talk about because I can't help myself. So a lot of studies they'll just compare every single firstborn. So it's this distinction between within and between family. So when you look within a family, so you compare like firstborn, like me, to the secondborn sister, like my sister Melissa. We do not differ in our intelligence. She has different skill sets, but like she's in sales and is a magical wizard. I don't know how she does. Like, she likes being in sales. She likes selling. Like, she used to be in cars. Now she's in pharmaceuticals. I don't know how she does her job. Like, I think I would hate her job. Just because it's not. I don't like the like being dependent on other people thing, which might be more of an attachment style issue than anything. Well, she loves it. She loves like the thrill of the sale. Good for her. Like, I'm glad. Like, I worked retail back in college. Oh no. That's why I'm in academia, and she's like just crushing it in sales. She loves it. And she's good. She's very good. But that's kind of beside the point, because the idea is that you're comparing within a family. Now, if you compared me to another family's firstborn, you might find differences, but like the fact that I've got 5 sisters, so that means you can compare me as firstborn all the way down to Julie, my youngest sister. We got a 10-year spread, and that's comparing us within a family. Now, if you were to look at Julie, who's also equally smart and talented, and all my sisters are fabulous. I'm biased, but they're all fabulous. Sorry for not mentioning Rachel. There's my mother. I'm gonna go turn this off and answer the phone. Oops. We gotta open up Camtasia's. Hello, Camtasia. Fun facts. Yeah, okay, let's try that again. I gotta sync when both of the videos are running. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. My mom called, and so I answered. I'm back. But yeah, so let me back up a little, just so we can get a kind of consistent thing. Birth order. So, there's this where a lot of birth order studies compare apples to oranges. So what they'll do is they'll go into a data, like they'll have a survey and be like, what number kid are you? And were you firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, etc.? And what they found is that when you just compare firstborns across families, versus like, because every family's got a firstborn. So on average, those kids are smarter, just because any family that has kids tends to have at least a firstborn. I know, shocking. But as you have more and more kids, the families that do that are rarer and rarer. And in general, they tend to be lower SES, probably because they're just more kids. And that seems to be associated with intelligence. Essentially, the people that have more kids tend to have a slightly lower IQ on average. There's lots of reasons why this is, but what happens is they're only the families that have like 6 borns, so like Julie and ours, can compare 6 borns. And so what you have is every family's got a firstborn, and most families have secondborns, and fewer families have third and fourth and fifth and sixth. And so then you get into these like really long tail rare families, and you get to so when you're comparing different kinds of families together, so like those are between family differences, because they're just the families that have one kid, one and done, versus like you just keep going until you like forever, until you're no longer like able to have kids, are different kinds of families that have different kinds of values. And in general, like families with higher education levels tend to have fewer kids, just because they tend to have jobs that they tend to have prioritized their education more, and so they have less time to have, like, there's so many different things that are causing these families to be different. So you're comparing like every firstborn to only the families who happen to have like 6th, 7th, 8th, etc. born kids. And so you see this trend, but if you zoom into any individual family, you find that the differences between siblings have not, like intelligence and personality, have nothing to do with where they were in order of birth. Julie's equally as probably smarter than me, because she's like, I don't want to do academia, that seems hard. She's all about efficiency and like having it be good enough, not like those extra like points to go from like A- to A. She was like, not really worth it for her. And I was like, so like she has way more time to enjoy her life, and she's not trapped making YouTube videos. But anyway, so there might be small effects for some personality traits, but they're like super tiny that you can only see them in like ginormous samples. Practically not that meaningful in effect, which is why I can't off the top of my head tell you what those personality traits are, because they're so tiny that my brain's like, let's save that space for like cat trivia, because that seems more relevant to your life, according to my brain talking to me, Anyway, so yeah, there's definitely not one for intelligence, because you're just comparing across families, and but you're making a claim about like within a family, like birth order's like a within family thing. So you can't go to a different level and be like, yeah, we can totally like apply that down, because you're it's a design thing. And my advisor has specialized in this area a little, like looking at birth order and intelligence and debunking it over and over and over again. So that's probably why I have a 5-minute diatribe just on this. Yay! Okay, let's keep going, because I want to get through this chunk so that I can like cut and edit at the very least. Okay, come on. Cool. So there are lots of causes of personality stability too. We're almost done with this chunk, I swear. So beyond birth order stuff and genetic stuff, stressful life events also can have an impact. So like stresses as a kid have a lasting impact, and we'll talk about this in Freud and how like stuff that happens to your child that does matter. But the most interesting thing, and we'll talk about this a bit more in behavior genetics, is the interaction between the person and the environment. And this kind of extends to looking at the interaction between like genes and the environment, which is what behavior genetics like is the fun part. So this person-environment interaction. So people tend to seek out, respond to, and create environments that are compatible with their personality traits. And if anything, they tend to magnify them. So there are 3 types of these interactions. So active is you seek out a compatible environment, and you as well as avoid incompatible ones. So the person is driving this. So you're going to the parties if you're extroverted, you're leaving the parties or you're not going to the parties if you're not extroverted. You seek out the stuff. And I've got lots of examples on the next slide, but I tend to like using the party example because I'm weird. And it's my go-to vision. That it's the one my instinct comes to. So next you've got reactive. So people responding to the same situation differently. So surprise parties. They can lead to very different reactions. Also, when you go to a restaurant, some people really love it when it's their birthday and they sing happy birthday to you and acknowledge that you are now older and you've made another cycle around the sun. Some people love that. Other people are okay, I guess let's, and so they react really differently. And so those people tend to not get surprise parties because the friends around them are they don't like it, or they'll leave the surprise party. So they just respond differently in the same environment. And lastly, evocative. So the person changes the situation. The most obvious one here is if you have a surprise party thrown for you, you leave if you're not into that. Or you change what the party is. Instead of it being a party with dancing and stuff, you let's have a LAN party or a D&D party. So you change the environment to suit your need. That's the basic idea. So I've talked a little about this cumulative continuity principle. I'm going to finally define it for you all. And again, ask myself why I didn't put this at the beginning. So cumulative continuity principle is this idea, and this definition, alert, that individual differences in personality become more consistent as one gets older. So you kind of accumulate over time and it's like a snowball. It grows and builds, and the momentum of the snowball keeps it going. So your personality grows more consistent with time, and that's probably because of at least 2 things. 1, psychological maturity. So just biological developmental changes that contribute to stability, including increased self-control, improved social awareness skills, improved social stability, all those stereotypical things that you think of as what is it to adult? As you grow more adulting, as you age and mature, the stereotypical things you think of, more restraint, better with other people, less conflict and less drama and just chiller, less crying as you go from baby to adult. That's maturity, and that's literally we're gonna talk about examples of maturity over time. As well as the environment we live in becomes more stable with age. So when you're a kid, your parents are in control of you go to a grocery store or not, what school you go to. It depends on where you live, what your parents essentially where they wanted to live. They may make decisions based on what's best for you, but you're kind of just a passenger in the early aspect, or in this weird car metaphor that I have now. You're a passenger in your life and where you're going environment-wise for a while. And as you get older and older, with college, a lot of students had choices. Now, they're not at so early decision, that hopefully was driven by you, not your parents. It's different cultures have different expectations. But as well as a lot of faculty's kids go here because they got super sweet discounts. So, or at least they'll try it out, and so so you'll find that students of faculty are more likely to go to Wake than other places of equal quality. But yeah, so we get more choices. We're not like moving from place to place, and you get to drive as you get older, like where you go to college, where you pick where you want to live, stuff like that. Okay, so here's a giant table. This is all, also heads up, this is all from cross-sectional data as examples. So like active person-environmental transaction, person seeks out compatible environment, avoids incompatible one. So here's a really helpful summary. This is from figure 7.1 in the table, cross-sectional data. This is not like they follow the same people over time. These are snapshots. Snapshots. Yeah, okay. Cool. So next time, we're going to talk about personality development. Woo! I'm actually going to cut it here and not do my like silly little like gimmick. Woo! Where I zoom off, fall off screen like this. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut it because I've got other stuff to do today other than recordings. I got to edit some, get uploads, respond to your emails. Yeah. Cool. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.